Strategic thinking isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you can develop. And if you've ever wondered why some people navigate complex challenges with ease while others get trapped in endless planning loops, you're about to discover the difference. Today, I'm going to show you what strategic thinking really means and why your plan isn't your strategy. I'll walk you through the GHOST framework using a pharmaceutical example and explain how it differs from other models like OGSM and OKRs. Then I'll teach you a practical approach to situational analysis that goes beyond traditional frameworks like SWOT analysis. Finally, I'll introduce you to TRIZ, a problem-solving method developed by a Soviet inventor that's still used today by companies like Johnson & Johnson, Samsung, or NASA. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete toolkit to think like a strategist, not just a planner. Strategic thinking is fundamentally about solving complex problems and planning for the long term. It's what enables you to set meaningful goals, tackle significant challenges, and make decisions that genuinely move your business forward. There are 4 core skills that define strategic thinking. Analysis comes first. You need to examine data, identify trends, and understand how factors like market conditions or internal resources impact the bigger picture. Communication is equally crucial. Even the most brilliant strategy goes nowhere if you can't articulate it clearly, gain buy-in, and ensure everyone's aligned. Problem solving forms the foundation. Effective strategy begins with understanding the real issue. What's actually going wrong? What options do you have? Strategic thinkers diagnose the root problem before jumping to solutions. Planning and execution brings it all together. Strategy isn't just a compelling idea on paper, you need a roadmap to implement it and the management skills to drive it forward. In essence, strategic thinking is where insights meet action. It takes you from here's the problem to here's how we're going to win. If you want to strengthen your strategic thinking abilities, here are 4 practical approaches. First, ask strategic questions. Effective strategy starts with the right questions. Consider, where should we focus our growth efforts? How do we respond to emerging competitors? What will drive our success over the next 5 years? These questions shift your thinking toward long-term outcomes, help you spot opportunities, and approach your work with a strategic mindset. Second, observe and reflect. Before drawing conclusions, step back and examine what's actually happening, whether it's changing customer behavior, new market trends, or internal shifts. Ground your thinking in facts, not assumptions, so any strategy you develop has a solid foundation. Third, consider multiple perspectives. Once you've shaped a strategy, pressure test it. Ask yourself, what might I be missing? Is there another way to view this? Challenging your own ideas helps you identify blind spot and prepare for questions others might raise later. Fourth, invest in learning. If you want to accelerate your development, whether for a new role, a business opportunity, or a leadership position, consider formal training. Most companies offer well-designed courses that equip you with frameworks, tools, and real-world examples that help you approach strategy with confidence. Before we dive into the frameworks, let's be clear about why a plan is not a strategy. The fundamental difference between strategy and planning comes down to intent and control. A plan is essentially a list of actions. Launching a new product, opening a new facility, or hiring additional staff. These activities are within your control, which makes planning feel so comfortable. But here's the issue. Most plans are just activity lists. They sound productive, but they often lack a clear connection to any competitive advantage. Being busy doesn't mean you're making progress. Strategy, however, is about making clear, integrated choices, deciding where you want to compete and how you're going to win. It's built on logic. If we do X in this market, we believe we can outperform the competition because of Y. You can't control the outcome, customers and competitors make their own decisions, but you're taking a position and saying, here's what we believe will work. That's why strategy feels riskier. You're aiming for results outside your direct control. But without that kind of focus, planning alone won't get you very far. One of the most practical tools for strategic thinking is the GHOST model, which stands for Goals, Objectives, Strategy, and Tactics. Picture it as a pyramid. At the top sits your goal, your long-term ambition, what you're ultimately trying to achieve. Underneath are your objectives, clear, measurable milestones that indicate whether you're on track. Next comes your strategy, your overall approach for reaching those objectives. At the base are your tactics, the specific actions you'll use to execute the strategy. You can also map this on a simple matrix with 2 axes, one from general to specific, the other from what to how. The goal is the general what, your high-level outcome. Objectives are your specific what, your concrete targets. Strategy is the general how, your guiding approach. And tactics are the specific how, what you actually do. Now, when applying this in complex industries like pharmaceuticals, there's often a missing piece: the H for hurdles. This isn't part of the traditional GHOST model, but I find it invaluable to explicitly identify the key challenges standing between you and your goal. These might be internal issues like fragmented data, or external ones like regulatory barriers or payer resistance. Let's see how this works with a pharmaceutical example. Say you're launching a new oncology treatment. Your goal might be achieve market leadership in second-line lung cancer within 5 years. Your objectives could include secure reimbursement in the top 5 EU markets within 18 months and achieve 20% market share by year 3. Your strategy might then be focus on unmet medical needs and differentiate through real-world evidence. Your tactics could include conducting real-world evidence studies, building payer evidence presentations, publishing case studies, and training your medical science liaison team. For hurdles, perhaps the key challenge is that the comparator arm in our trial isn't aligned with health technology assessment expectations. Identifying this upfront helps shape your strategy from the beginning. This is the GHOST model, with the optional H for added realism. It helps you think clearly, plan effectively, and stay grounded in both vision and execution. You might encounter a similar framework called OGSM: objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. While it overlaps with GHOST, there's a key difference. OGSM is designed for performance management and execution. It helps organizations monitor progress, track metrics, and maintain accountability. GHOST, on the other hand, is better suited for strategic thinking. It provides a clearer structure for moving from high-level goals down to actionable tactics without jumping straight to KPIs. If your focus is on strategic thinking, clarifying where you're going and how you get there, GHOST is the better tool. You can always incorporate elements like KPIs later, once your core thinking is sound. Building on strong strategic thinking, OKRs offer a practical way to track progress and maintain focus on what matters. OKRs are another popular goal-setting framework, especially in tech companies like Google and Netflix, and even non-profits like Code for America. Where OGSM focuses on execution and business alignment, OKRs are about setting ambitious goals and tracking progress clearly. An OKR has 2 components. First, objective, so what you want to achieve. It should be concrete, action-oriented, and ideally inspirational. Second, the key results. 3 to 5 measurable outcomes that indicate whether you're succeeding. For example, I will improve our website performance as measured by 7 out of 10 users completing their task, a 1-second response time, and a 1% error rate. It's not just a vague ambition, key results bring focus and accountability. OKRs were originally developed at Intel by Andy Grove, then brought to Google by John Doerr in the late 90s. Since then, they've become a gold standard for aligning teams while encouraging innovation. Compared to GHOST or OGSM, OKRs are more agile and iterative, often set quarterly rather than annually. Crucially, they're not tied to compensation, so teams feel more freedom to aim high. If GHOST helps you think strategically, OKRs help you act with focus and clarity. When thinking strategically, you'll often begin with situational analysis. There are plenty of frameworks to guide this. For example, the double diamond model separates problem finding from problem solving. SWOT analysis maps strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Or you might use Pareto analysis to focus on the 20% of issues driving 80% of outcomes. But frameworks are only useful if you're feeding them the right inputs. That starts by spotting what we can call clues. Scattered, often messy signals from the real world. In pharmaceuticals, this might be a spike in adverse event reports for a particular patient subgroup, consistent delays in time to treatment across certain regions, or a small but vocal group of clinicians refusing to prescribe a new drug despite favorable data. Clues don't always make sense individually, but when you start connecting them, looking for patterns, contradictions, and what's not being said, you begin surfacing insights. For example, maybe that subgroup with more side effects shares a genetic marker that wasn't captured in the original trial. Or those prescribing delays trace back to a reimbursement policy bottleneck no one had flagged. Clues are inputs. Insights are meaning. That shift from collecting and observing raw evidence to uncovering what really matters is where strategic thinking begins. Once you've transformed clues into insights, you can develop targeted tactics that solve the underlying problem. For that, let's explore a strategic problem-solving tool called TRIZ, which stands for the Theory of Inventive Problem Solving. TRIZ was developed by Soviet inventor Granish Altshuler, who analyzed thousands of patents to identify common patterns behind breakthrough inventions. Rather than focusing on incremental improvements, TRIZ guides you toward more radical, innovative solutions. One strength is encouraging you to look beyond your immediate industry, what TRIZ calls exploring related worlds. In pharma, if you're working on improving patient adherence to medication, you might examine how tech companies use gamification or behavioral science to engage users, and then adapt those ideas to healthcare. TRIZ also emphasizes revolutionary thinking. Instead of slightly improving a drug delivery method, you might consider entirely new approaches, like switching from oral pills to smart drug delivery implants that release medication over time, fundamentally changing the patient experience. Another key aspect is re-expressing the problem. Rather than framing the challenge as, how do we increase market share for this drug, you might reframe it as, how can we improve patient outcomes in a way that differentiates our product? This shift opens new strategic possibilities beyond just marketing. Finally, TRIZ encourages embracing randomness by combining ideas in unexpected ways. Imagine merging AI-driven diagnostics from tech with personalized medicine approaches in pharmaceuticals to develop highly tailored treatment plans. Applied thoughtfully, TRIZ can help pharmaceutical strategists break free from conventional thinking and create innovative solutions that drive real impact for patients and the business. There you have it, your complete strategic thinking toolkit. You now understand the difference between strategy and planning, how to use frameworks like GOST and OGSM, how to conduct proper situational analysis, and how to apply TRIZ to solve complex problems. The next time you're in a boardroom meeting and someone confuses tactics with strategy or tries to pass off OKRs as a strategic plan, you'll be the one to set the record straight. You'll be thinking several moves ahead while others are still figuring out the next step. Here's some final strategic advice. Don't stop learning now. Check out one of my other videos for more insights, and I'll see you in the next one.